Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my favorite books of 2024. Now, for this year, I read over 100 books, and funnily enough, 60 of those were comics. Now, those only include collected works, and they don't include every single issue that I read. That would be an even bigger number because I read a few omnibus this year. So my year was just filled to the brim with Batman comics. So that means for this year, I am splitting my favorites of the year into my 4 favorite books, as well as my 4 favorite comics that I read this year. So let's just get straight into my favorite books of the year. Now, these will be listed in the order that I read them, and they will not be ranked. But these are the books that I gave 4 or 5 stars this year, and books that I would consider my favorite. So my first favorite book of the year is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which I gave 5 stars. This is a fantastic memoir where Jeanette talks about her life and her forced childhood acting career at the hands of her emotionally abusive and neglectful mother. Each chapter is a small vignette of her life, and it can be very, very sad, very, very powerful, or sometimes even very, very funny. Jeanette went on tour with this book where she first performed it as a one-woman show, and it is just an excellent delivery about all of the trials that she's faced in her life and how she still to this day is struggling to overcome everything that occurred with her and her abusive mother. This memoir really packs a punch. A lot of it is very, very dark and uncomfortable to read, so I understand why everyone might not feel comfortable reading this book, but I thought that it was an incredible memoir and that Jeanette is incredibly brave and strong for releasing all of this. She has just had an incredible life journey, and I hope honestly that she is doing well. So my first favorite book of the year was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. The next book on my list is A Long Time Dead by Samara Breger, which I gave 4 stars. Now, I first had a lot of struggles with this book. The first few chapters, the writing style was so off-putting that I almost did not finish the book. One line I can remember with great detail is that a man who is sleeping with her describes the main character having her entire body feeling like a boob. So you can understand why I was a little bit off-put at the beginning of this novel, but I pushed on, I continued reading, the writing got a lot better, and then suddenly the book became a very interesting arc with the 2 female leads discussing freedom, control, and sexuality in comparison with their vampirism. There is not a lot of action in this story, but there is a lot of great character work and a lot of philosophical discussion with a lot of the themes that I just mentioned in connection to their vampirism, and I thought that it was a very, very well done book, well done character work, well done romance, and well done period piece. I highly recommend it as a great novel of lesbian vampirism, and I just thought that it was pretty good. You just have to push past those first few chapters of a little bit rough and off-putting writing. My next favorite book of the year is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, and I gave that book 4 stars. It is an excellent story depicting the main character David's affair with a bartender named Giovanni, while his presumed fiancée travels through Europe, deciding whether or not she even wants to marry David. This book just contains beautiful writing and has fantastic themes about shame, lust, internalized homophobia, and self-reflection. And I think that it was a very powerful novel published at the time about gay romance and just how you feel during the 1950s about being gay and growing up. Not only is it a powerful gay story, I believe that anyone can relate to the novel, and I think that the writing is just honestly very, very gripping. I feel like everyone should read this book. It is just very, very well done and makes me want to read more of James Baldwin's work. So my next favorite of the year is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. And finally, my fourth favorite book of the year is Perfume by Patrick Suchsund, which I gave 4 stars. This story is about an 18th century perfumer named Grenouille who has a very, very strong sense of smell and resorts to becoming one of the greatest perfumers of his generation, and in fact resorts into killing women in order to achieve the perfect scents for his perfume. The writing in this novel is just incredibly lush, incredibly evocative, obviously with the descriptions of the sense of smell, which is one of the most powerful senses for both just natural sensory issues as well as triggering memory. This book is really, really well written. I was disgusted sometimes I was hungry. It was just a very powerful book for all of these senses, and I thought the story was very, very interesting, and it talks about scent, killing, innocence, and the pure evil that can occur in people. It was just an incredibly dark and fascinating tale, and I listened to the book on audiobook, and I thought that it was just an incredible experience, and I highly recommend reading it that way as well. So my final favorite book of the year was Perfume by Patrick Suchsund. Alright, and now we are on to my favorite comics of the year. So my first favorite comic of the year is Batman Second Chances by Max Allan Collins, Jim Starlin, and others, which I gave 5 stars. So this comics collection takes place as a shift in the Batman post-crisis, where it re-explains why Dick Grayson left the role of Robin and how Batman took in the second Robin, Jason Todd. It shows an excellent change in Jason Todd's character, where he was first introduced as just a clone of Dick Grayson, including being part of his own circus troupe where his parents got killed during an act, and turns him into a delinquent who lives in Crime Alley, gets taken in by Batman, and learns proper schooling, proper values, and how to be a hero. I just think that it is a great collection of comics. It has good character work and has really good balance of some dark and gritty stories and some fun, silly, goofy ones, which was a staple of 80s comics where they were trying to shift between those two concepts. And of course, I loved seeing the stories where Jason becomes part of the team, and I loved his relationships with Bruce and with Dick, and I just think that it's a great collection of 80s comics. My next favorite comics of the year are James Tynion's Batman run, which includes Their Dark Designs, Joker War, Ghost Stories, The Cowardly Lot, and Fear State, all of which I gave 4 to 5 stars. This to me is just an excellent arc of modern Batman comics that take place after City of Bane, where Batman has to deal with a wide variety of situations, including a group of assassins that are coming after him, the Joker War where he steals all of Bruce Wayne's money, an old rival of Bruce's coming back to haunt him, as well as the Scarecrow trying to turn Gotham into a fear state. These comics are just full of gorgeous art. Of course, I have to highlight Jorge Jimenez, who creates just some of the greatest art in modern Batman comics. I can't get enough of his work. Plus, I just really enjoy a lot of the characters that are introduced in this run, including Punchline, my girlfriend, and Ghostmaker, my boyfriend. James Tynion's modern Batman run is just a really fun and exciting romp, and I read it all at once, and I just really, really enjoyed the arc. I thought it had great writing, it was very cohesive, and I just enjoyed it a lot. So that is my next set of favorite comics of the year. My next favorite comic of the year is Batman the Knight by Chip Zdarsky and Carmine Di Giandomenico. Pardon if I mispronounced that. I gave that comic 4 stars. This comic is another modern retelling of Bruce Wayne growing up and all of his years of training into becoming the Dark Knight. It shows him as he trains under various experts, including a Parisian jewel thief, a marksman, and Ra's al Ghul. A lot of it shows his inner turmoil in training, the growth of his values, as well as the rivalry with the young Ghostmaker. It is another solid volume about Bruce's youth, It has great artwork and of course has one of my favorite characters in it in Ghostmaker. So I thought it was just a very, very excellent story. And finally, my final favorite comics of the year were Batman Prelude to Nightfall and Batman Nightfall Volume 1 by Chuck Dixon, Doug Mensch, and a whole bunch of others, both of which I gave 4 stars. This is just an incredibly well done arc of 90s comics that introduces the character Bane and shows as he wants to test the Batman. So he comes in, breaks every single villain out of Arkham, tests Batman's physicality and his mental strength before he decides to break him. These volumes are just excellently done. There's a lot of fun in freeing all of the villains out of Arkham. There's a lot of powerful character work with Bruce experiencing mental burnout for the very first time as his spirit is broken before his back is inevitably broken, and I think it does a very, very good job introducing brand new characters, such as Bane, as well as other characters that will eventually be brought into the Bat family in John Paul Valley, who is the vigilante Azrael before he ultimately takes on the Batman role in later volumes of Nightfall. This storyline just has a lot of great work overall. I felt myself very, very interested in Bane's origins because a lot of what I have seen of Bane in adaptations hasn't really excited me. So seeing his backstory put into these comics was very interesting, and I loved the arc of Bruce trying to push through his burnout and eventually failing and getting broken as a result. I thought these were very, very well done, lots of fun, and pretty solid artwork for 90s comics. And I thought these were just a perfect start to the Nightfall storyline. So that's it. Those were all of my favorite works that I read this year, both books and comics. Sadly, out of over 100 books that I read this year, I didn't have a lot that I considered to be favorites, nor did I give out a lot of 4 or 5 stars. So next year, I am definitely going to downsize the number of books I plan to read. I believe my goal is 75. I plan to read more comics, and I plan to read more off of my back catalog of physical books that I own, and will read those as well. So those were all my favorites of the year. Comment down below your favorites of the year. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next year. Bye bye!